Who's the best target in Binding Worlds? Who should you be looking for and what kind of fodder? We're going to talk about that today, but I want to know in the comments, who are you looking for in this next Binding Worlds? Even if it's not to get the actual Forma, but just units that you like playing with in that game mode. So let's get this out of the way. Why should you be looking for a Binding World Forma at all? Here is the basic argument. We're taking Valoria here. This is an older unit. In order to get a decked out Valoria, just the way you want it, it is going to cost 581 orbs, as well as any flowers that you have to put on this unit, as opposed to getting 123 orbs, an Otherworldly Bond, and spending $55. Now, what I will say, if you are a spender, this is one of the best deals in the game, depending of course on what you pull, but most of the time you do get pretty decent stuff. If you're not a spender, well, I at least have some fun builds for you. So let's get into it. One of the best units to get out of this is the Flying Dancers. The fairies in general have so many things that you can put on them, and they get kind of expensive. For Peony and Plumeria, these builds are kind of swappable actually through most of this here, but you can get the dual skill, you can get the fantastic dances that we have, Rock Slide and Firestorm as well. Soaring Guidance and Guidance is awesome. What I will say is there's an interesting thing I've done here with Plumeria, and one of the things you can do is just take the dance skill out altogether. Get a Crux skill on there, because actually follow-up is kind of good right at this point in the game, and then put a Soaring Guidance on them. This is a very valid thing you can do. I would recommend it less for Peony, because the debuff neutralization is very powerful in the meta right now, but just keep that in mind. For Dorothea, you're definitely looking more for player phase, and on any of these units, if player phase is your bag, then I would definitely suggest getting Wings of Mercy 4, particularly on the Mythic Dancers. That helps a ton and is a life-changing skill. But looking more at this unit, the Crux on player phase in particular is incredible. Any of the boost skills will also take you far. I've got Ruptured Sky on here simply because if you decide to make one of these units an arena unit, then that is very valuable to you, but just know that you don't really need that. If your unit doesn't come with that, then don't think that you don't have to take that Forma. Now, as far as Mirabilis, this is a very viable dancer and actually has come in really handy for me a ton. What I will say is it's possible to not get Flower of Ease and instead do Arcane Eleuthir. And that's a pretty good build and an option that you can do that won't kill you, because you do get the base skills for the unit. But Stillwater, and obviously we've got the Firestorm Dance and Guidance, and then as well as Stillwater. What you want to look for here is stacking your res, because you have to be able to beat out Sather. That's important for these kind of units, but being able to give mobility to the rest of your team is very valuable. Know that it's possible to do Soaring Guidance, but I find on defense I do like Guidance because I generally have some kind of armor there, and being able to move them forward and shield the rest of my team is nice. Now, as far as Sigurd goes, this is a really interesting build for all of you doing rally traps. Once this unit comes in front and rallies, it extends the entire threat range of your team and makes more things happen. So you can go in there and again stack res because Sather. But the Sabotage skills and the Ploy skills are both very good and can be run on both Sigurd and Plumeria for that matter. So just a quick review, because I still do get confusion between Otherworldly Bonds and Forma Souls. Remember, Otherworldly Bonds include your traits, but not your florets. You get max Dragon Flowers regardless of what the person had on their unit. It's version 5.11 and older, and then includes Arcane Weapons and Echo skills. Forma Souls are obviously picked by Insis, and you get to select your fodder as you go, and you have neutral traits. There are advantages to either of these, but in general, you're not going to get as wide of a selection from Forma Souls as you will get for Otherworldly Bonds. Forma Souls are definitely cheaper though, because you can get them for free in the Celestial Stone Shop. I'm going to bring up Mythic Heroes here, but there's an important thing to notice that anytime you're looking at merging up a unit, this can be a very valuable thing to do to get a merge as well as a lot of extra fodder. Right now, Dogger is at the top of the list, and this unit is really good. What you can see here is with Firestorm Boost and the Squad Ace skill, you get up to 65 HP, and that means you can also do infantry pulls. Once you start being able to do things like that, it gets really fun. The other thing is the Echo skill, the attack Oath Echo, is really handy for this unit when you have drawback, because you can jump in front of them and then pull them up, extending the range quite a bit. If you are going for summoner duels, I would definitely go for Lagoo's Friend. We're going to go over a ton of Lagoo's Friend builds, though. I am a huge fan of that skill, in case you didn't know. Bramamond is actually a fairly decent tank, and combined with that tempo skill and his preference weapon and skill, he can do a ton of damage. He's actually a fairly decent follow-up unit if you're looking at taking down Emblem Ike, which is a very tough thing to do, especially with us going into his bonus season. Thor, again, is another player phase unit that I like a ton and can do a lot of damage. As an enemy phase support, you have to put on a whole bunch of free-to-play skills, so I wouldn't worry about that here, but like your allied axe and such, those are easy to get. So go ahead and grab your Soaring Guidance. For the player phase, you're going to want her preference C skill, but this is still a very good build and has some flexibility in the different ways you can use her. We're still all waiting for her Refine, though, which is probably a year or more out. Reagan is at the top of a lot of people's lists. She didn't get the best Refine, but honestly, she's still a very good unit. And if you wanted to go the Flared Sparrow, Assassin Strike, Incite route, it's a great build on this unit and on most melee calves. So keep that in mind and be on the lookout for things like that. So remember, first and foremost, if one of your favorites pops up, I'm not talking to you. Like, go get that unit, have fun. Because remember, we're playing this game to have fun. If you're looking at progression, though, the three things you really need to pay attention to is merges on mythics or legendaries. You can also grab harmonics, which generally boost your score off of much lower merges and can be really handy. The other thing is units that perform at a very high level. We'll get into Garrick that I have pictured here, but there are definitely supports that do a fantastic job right now and some other roles. So here are our legendary heroes, and I know it looks like I just went Lagoo's Friend crazy, but I tried to put something else on here, but this is really the thing that these units want, and I want to pay attention to the different ways that this skill is good. Remember, this is hard to put on an attuned or rearmed unit because it takes so many slots. It takes 4 slots to be able to get Lagoo's Friend. Luckily, we do have 5 free slots now, but that still is a pain in the butt. You can see with the ranged nukes, though, and this Crom build, I've already gotten a Crom from Binding Worlds, and I would be hard-pressed not to pick this one up. The close bonus doubler and the Lagoo's Friend plus the Fatal Smoke is just amazing, and that looks like it would be a lot of fun. Selef, this is a build that's been going around for a little bit, but is still very good on this unit. That Attack Defense Prime and the Incite Attack Res is fantastic. No quarter is what really sets this build apart, and this unit can still be used in a lot of modes. Dimitri, this is the melee nuke, and I wanted to bring up that Lagoo's Friend is still good for that. This is actually maybe a side grade to his preference B, but still very good and might be even better. I'd have to do some sims. I like this one a lot, though, and you'll notice that I have no quarter on here, but that is not a special you're going to want to run with Lagoo's Friend if you have Slaying, which Eredfar has. That's different for Crom because he doesn't have Slaying in his weapon, which turned out to be a huge boon, but you're not going to want to run Deadeye on Crom either because that doesn't really pair well with what Lagoo's Friend does. You'll want to swap those around, but in general, those are going to be free-to-play options. Corrin is the last one on here, and honestly is a hugely slept-on unit. This unit is fantastic, especially with the new Emblem Ike support that you can give her. This is a fantastic build and really helps you loop Negating Fang 2. This is a really fun deal. If you're a Corrin fan, I would look for this as you're going through on your runs. A real quick note on tips. Pick your own unit as you're going through Binding Worlds. It's the one that's going to come up the most. If you take it out of circulation, it means you're going to have one more option every time you run. Don't go crazy on the first day. I see so many people before 8 a.m. they've done all the matches they can get. Give folks some time to actually get their formas into place before you go nuts. Don't forget that if you lose a match but still have swapped out your forma, you get to keep that forma. It's not like Hall of Forms. Hall of Forms is different. If you lose that match, you don't get to keep anything. I hope that helps, but let's get into some more builds. These are some infantry units that you should watch out. Keep in mind, I don't really suggest you invest hard into enemy phase units. They tend to go out of style very quickly unless they're very special. Dimitri here is kind of an exception because of what Lagoo's friend has done for his kit. It raises his flat damage reduction by quite a bit. Keep a lookout for this build. Just keep in mind that you're going to want to change No Quarter for either Bonfire or Ignis in the wild, but No Quarter is really nice to have on this unit in general. Valoria is just amazing still, and as a player phase unit is a lot of fun. Getting 2 cooldown from a unit is incredible, and keep in mind if that's an infantry unit that you're paired with, if that's your support partner, then you get 3 cooldown because of infantry pulse here, as long as your HP is higher than theirs. That makes this unit very versatile and very strong. This Garrick build that you're seeing is more of an enemy phase support, and keep in mind what you really want there is an even pulse tie, but I find that to be an easier skill to get as opposed to Wings of Mercy 4. If you have this build, then it's easy to make this unit a player phase or an enemy phase, depending on what fodder you have in your barracks. I think he works very well for both, and I have been using him for both in my teams, and he's been phenomenal against any Sanaki that you see out there. The last thing I want to go over is near saviors. I don't know that far saviors really hold up all that much. They're a harder thing to sell you on. But these 2 near saviors both stop Winter Edelgard, and because of that, they are very valuable and can really help you on your teams. Particularly that Brave Edelgard build there is just phenomenal. If I see this one, I will be going for it. These are both excellent builds. The Weaving and Canny Fighter has taken near saviors and really helped them just a ton. The Guard Echo, if you can find it, is excellent, but understand not everyone is going to give that to their units and then put them out. But anyway, the one thing that you won't see here, and I just didn't have a good feeling of either Ninjoran or Linja. I tried a ton to get some kind of build that would take out any kind of the far saviors that you're going to see right now. And what I found was limited results. Sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. What I've shown you here is stuff that's going to work most of the time. Like, it has a very high likelihood of success. I have a hard time spending $55 on builds that don't really work all that well. Now, that changes if you're talking about Arena. You can definitely go out and get the Flared Sparrow and Assassin Strike or Occultist Strike, depending on which one you're talking about. But just know those are out there. If they're your favorites, by all means go for it. If you're looking for meta builds, I would probably skip those. Summoners, I hope this was helpful to you. Thanks again to members. Take care and schedule an appointment with your FEHology real soon.